9 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on the game, navigating you through the middle, almost the middle every week. Coming off of what was a loaded football weekend. And Jack, we'll get into the specifics of this game a little bit more later on. But last night, once again, kind of a dud and blowout, as were most of the games in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, I was hoping last night was going to be this close game because, early on it was like, okay, the Rams are firing away and scoring. The Vikings are, they got a really high octane offense that can move up and down the field. Let's see if they get some points. And it just never really ended up coming to fruition last night. Credit to the Rams, though. I mean, they kind of lit it up early and never let their lead up from there.
Yeah, a lot of conversations coming away from that game about what exactly happened and what the future is for guys like Sam Darnold that we'll dive into a little bit more as the show goes along. But of course, it is 9 o'clock, and that means got to kick things off with our Sandstorm Pick Me Up.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick Me Up, brought by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. Of course, plenty to talk about when it comes to football, but Jack, today being January the 14th, we are actually right at 1 month away from baseball opening day. I know as soon as the calendar turns over, it seems like you blink and suddenly we're back on the diamond, but Gamecock baseball, the start of the Paul Mainieri era, is only a month away.
Oh man, it's crazy. I didn't even realize that thinking about it, just because the days get all mixed together. But man, that's crazy. I'm so excited, man. It's baseball's finally around the corner, and with football kind of dying down and basketball, in the midst of things, it is nice to have baseball right around the corner.
It is, obviously basketball has got their work cut out for them. More manageable games against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma coming up over the next couple of days, where you hope they can at least get their feet back underneath them and make some kind of run. But I even going back to the summertime after they moved on from Coach Kingston and brought in Coach Mainieri, there's just been this swelling excitement for baseball, seeing what this new era is going to be, seeing if they can indeed finally get themselves back to Omaha for the first time in over a decade. God, we've had countless amount of baseball players come through for the Gamecock Club Hour, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we've heard every angle of this team and the different position groups and all this kind of stuff. And man, I think we're all just ready to finally see it finally hit the field a month from now.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm really thinking this is going to be. I don't know exactly how this year is going to go. Like, I know people want to think like Omaha and stuff. The problem is we just haven't seen, like, we've seen this team in fall scrimmages, in 2 outside scrimmages against Charleston and Air Force, but we haven't seen this team play, the current roster, because things have obviously changed. They've cut a few players. Obviously, some of the guys have been hurt and whatnot. So we'll see what this team really looks like. I've always said it's the Clemson weekend during non-conference play where you finally see what the team actually can really look like moving forward, because that's your main competition before things heat up in SEC play. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to see how this team looks. And obviously with Paul Mainieri and stuff, it's going to be a much different feel. It'll be refreshing to have him as the head coach compared to the Mark Kingston tenure, which was very up and down.
We had Bo Hollins on here last week, and he said it still seems like there's a lot of open competition at a lot of spots, and obviously he's in contention for first base. Would you have an idea of maybe how many of those starting 9 spots are nailed down at this point in time?
I think the one for sure, and we'll see where he ends up playing, but Ethan Petry is going to be on the field somewhere, obviously.
I think that one goes without saying.
If I had to imagine, I'd probably say he's back out in right field. I feel like the 3 outfield spots are, because it's difficult, because you have Petry out in right. I think that's a lock. And then center field, we'll see what happens. I think Nathan Hall is going to end up being the starting guy out there. And then left field, I would like to say Kennedy Jones, to be honest, though he could DH. Kennedy Jones is going to be in this lineup one way or another. I just can't see him sitting on the bench. No chance in the world with that bat. I don't think probably the only other spot I would say that's probably locked down. It's got to be shortstop with Henry Kazmar. I'd be shocked if anyone else is really really fighting for that spot. I just love the way the guy was swinging the bat during the fall. I mean, he is your ideal probably leadoff hitter, to be honest. Maybe your 2-hole hitter. The guy's bat to ball skills are just really something you can't teach. I mean, it's really impressive to see how much he's getting on base and stuff, and that's exactly what this team needs. So I feel like Bo's probably right. I'm sure you're right in what you guys have talked about. I think there are a lot of spots open for competition, which is a good thing. But there's also going to be there probably are besides those two. There might be another spot or two that I'm not thinking of that are probably locked up at this point in time.
Well, no surprise. Anytime you play in the SEC, it's obviously going to be a tough slate of games. 9 SEC teams in D1 baseball's preseason top 25. That's topped by Texas A&M at number 1, coming off their appearance in the World Series Finals last year. Tennessee, who obviously won, coming in at number 4. LSU at number 3. Arkansas at number 5. Let's see, Georgia at 8. Florida at 9. Going down further here, Vanderbilt at 16. Mississippi State at 18. Texas at 19. And then let's see. Yeah, I believe that's it for the top 25. But no surprise, yet another murderer's row of an SEC slate for South Carolina. They're going to be facing most of these teams at some point this year.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And you also have to factor in Clemson's a top 15 team. So South Carolina really does have their work cut out for them this year. And look, I think what does a successful season look like for this program? I think number one, you got to get back to the tournament. You got to get there one way or another. I think it's going to be very hard to be a regional host in year one. Not saying it can't happen. It's just you got to think about it this way. There's 16 spots to host, and you have 9 SEC teams that are currently ranked right now, and this is the best conference for baseball out there. So it's going to be a real war to get there. And I don't know how many wins you would need, but I feel like if you keep winning 2 out of 3 each weekend, you're probably going to be able to host. If you finish above 500, you got a decent chance, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. But I think getting back to the tournament and being like a 2, maybe a fringe 1 seed would definitely be successful, in my opinion.
I would say I think for most people, just getting back to the tournament is too low of an expectation, especially when you have a coach with the pedigree of Mainieri coming in here. I think most people are wanting to see that success of getting back to Omaha right out of the gate in year number 1.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. And look, that is something that's like getting to the tournament's the starting point, I think. From what you do from there, obviously you want to get to Omaha. I think if you don't get to Omaha within 3 years, then it's kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? But I think if you're able to get to Omaha year 1, that's insane. That's insane. I just think it's going to be extremely hard, especially if you're going to have to go on the road, because we've seen what's happened with South Carolina in the past, especially under Mark Kingston, when you've had to go on the road for these regionals and super regionals. Like last year, you lost out in Raleigh and you got your coach fired. 2 years ago, you lost in Gainesville in the super regional when you had a very good team. I think that was the best team of the Kingston era, and injuries happened, and then you kind of fell apart down the stretch. And then the first year of his time at South Carolina, they went to Arkansas and lost that super regional in 3 games. So it's so critical to host, number one, but to host a super makes a big difference. But even if you don't, we'll see what happens. But I think Paul, he's got the experience. He knows what it takes to win, road, home, Omaha, wherever, that they can make it work, I think.
And we'll do plenty of previewing for the opening series as well as the entire season as we get a little bit closer. But that opening series is against Sacred Heart starting on Valentine's Day, February the 14th, that Friday, running through Sunday. And something pretty cool that you wrote about yesterday, part of opening weekend for game number 2 on Saturday the 15th, they're going to be doing a field dedication for Coach Danner.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. He totally deserves it. The greatest coach at South Carolina in honestly just about any sport, because he's a winner. I mean, it's plain and simple as that. So it's awesome to see Ray getting his flowers for such a great career at USC, with the AD and baseball coach. So definitely looking forward to this.
I was going to say, and look, Ray's obviously always involved in everything going on, but as he takes the step back from his primary athletic director role, I wonder how much more attention he can even pay to baseball in this lesser role that he's taking with the university now, where I'm not saying he's going to be going out there, throwing BP or something like that, but still being able to be more involved in the team than maybe he was able to as just the AD.
No, for sure. I would, if I had to guess, like just vibes and stuff, I'd probably imagine him as like an advisor essentially for the team. Like anytime Neri needs something, like Ray's right there, and I'm sure Ray will be sticking around Columbia and stuff. So, Ray's a good guy to have as a like a guide, like guidance and all that stuff. Paul, obviously, Paul's older than Ray, if I'm not mistaken, but Paul will be fine, I think, and having his friend Ray, right around the corner. I don't think there's going to be any need to get the turf cleats on and the pants on and all that, and the jersey cap.
If you asked Coach Tanner if for some reason he had to fill in and coach a game, I don't think he would hesitate to do that.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool if let him in the dugout for his dedication ceremony. That would be pretty sweet.
I was gonna say, now that he's not the AD anymore, he doesn't have to wear the suit and tie necessarily. He could probably dust off the uniform and maybe at least sitting there in the dugout with the full get up on, right?
Oh yeah, he can at least dust off the multiple rings he has. So
Exactly. And like you said, I mean, him and Don Staley are obviously 1A and 1B when it comes to the greatest coaches in terms of success in South Carolina athletics history, and a well-deserved honor for him getting the field named after him. As of course he really, and look, South Carolina baseball has always been a big deal, but he really cemented it as a national brand with those national championships and the other appearance in the World Series, now over a decade ago.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, when Ray took over, I'm trying to think. The program had been to the College World Series in '75 and I believe '77, but otherwise, I mean, it had been a while since South Carolina had that type of success, and maybe I'm missing something in between. But after that, I mean, obviously, it took a few years to get to that level again. But once they did, like early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, they were good. Then the 2010s, 10, 11, 12. I mean, back to back trips to Omaha, and you win twice. I mean, that's really hard to do. Number one, to get there 3 times, let alone win twice in consecutive years. But Ray's the standard around here, and that's why when you think South Carolina baseball now, even when we don't know what this team's going to be like just yet, it's still that level of excellence, the expectation that this team is very good still.
Yeah, he set the bar of expectation to that level of, hey, you should be a perennial Omaha contender. And unfortunately, they've not been back since he's been at the helm, but that expectation still remains as sky high as ever.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, people with this new hiring and stuff are going to want to see South Carolina back in Omaha real soon. And I think Paul's the guy that's going to get them there ultimately. I do think so. Like, again, I remember from his opening press conference, he said he doesn't have a 5-year plan, whatever, however long his contract is. It's a 1-year plan to get there. So I think all the chips are on the table this year. And if things go right for them, if the pitching staff works out, if the hitters just do their thing, if everything falls into place for this team, I don't see why they can't get there, especially if they are competing very successfully in this conference.
Again, season starts 1 month from today, taking on Sacred Heart for the opening series. And again, conference play getting rolling in early March as they take on Oklahoma here at Founders Park. And we'll dive into plenty more of that as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. We are about halfway through January. Plenty of transfer portal conversations going on when it comes to South Carolina. They added another signing yesterday. We'll get into that, as well as talking about some quarterbacks around the SEC moving around that South Carolina is going to have to see over the course of the 2025 season. That's up next. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Tuesday here on The Game.
To play some golf while not freezing your tail off? How about playing 9 holes in perfect climate-controlled conditions where you can also win some dough? Well, sign up for the first annual Pro Swing Golf Classic. It's a 2-day event, January 30th and 31st. $150 to register a 2-man team. Bookings are available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Food included. You can win $1,000 for first place, $750 for second, and $500 for third. Plus, we'll be drawing Gamecocks baseball tickets that someone could win just by registering. Call Pro Swing at 803-528-1617. 1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Mosley's Diamond Showcase on Broad River Road is having its final days sale. That's right. This specific location is clearing out everything. We're not talking small discounts. We're talking savings as low as 50, 60, 70% off. Even items below cost. Diamond earrings regularly priced at $598, only $59. Remember, all sales are final. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grab incredible jewelry for prices you'll never see again. Don't wait. See you at Mosley's Diamond Showcase on Broad River Road.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Drive into 25 in the Chevy of your dreams. I-26 at Harvest and lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive. Host your next event at Hilton Garden Inn downtown for a seamless and memorable experience. Whether it's a corporate meeting, training session, family reunion, or wedding, their flexible meeting space can accommodate up to 320 people and is equipped with top-notch audio-visual equipment. With on-site catering services, you can focus on your event, while Hilton Garden Inn takes care of the rest. Contact the sales department at 803-227-3400 to book your event and enjoy the comfort, convenience, and hospitality of Hilton Garden Inn, Columbia downtown. Hardee's is adding the goodness of maple flavor to our menu with new maple biscuits drizzled in sweet icing or stacked with savory sausage. Plus, our new cherry wood smoked maple candy bacon is perfect on a breakfast biscuit, Frisco burger, or its own. For a sweet spot in your day, maple makes everything better at Hardee's. And now enjoy breakfast till noon every day. Available for a limited time at participating locations. Breakfast hours vary by location.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal. Right now, get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together, let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
At Atkins Law, we are proud alumni of USC. Since graduating, our attorneys continue to be proud supporters of Gamecock sports.
And we understand that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that breeds excellence on the court. Extensive preparation, teamwork, loyalty, all of those things we put into practice every day.
Remember, if you've been hurt on the job, who you hire matters. Call us at 803-251-6406.
Guys, Jay Phillips and Grace for our medium. Grace in the life after years in the bigs. I hear you've added to what Integrated Media had already done around the house. Tell us what makes your system so much fun to use.
Yeah, Jay, Integrated Media has taken care of us from day one. Everything they do looks fantastic, everything they do sounds fantastic, and everything runs seamlessly when it comes to our smart home. In today's day and age of streaming everything, having a strong Wi-Fi connection throughout the house is critical, and Integrated Media is the best in the business of setting you and your family up with everything you could ever need.
Now, I don't know about you, but having an outdoor system that looks and sounds like the indoors is better than I could have imagined.
Yeah, one of the perks of living in the Midlands of South Carolina is enjoying time outdoors virtually year-round. From weatherproof mounted televisions to outdoor speaker systems, Integrated Media is the standard when it comes to outdoor entertainment. They're the only people I would ever recommend when it comes to outfitting your smart home indoors or out.
Work with the best in the business, and that's our friends at Integrated Media. Grayson and I can't recommend them highly enough. See their work on Facebook and Instagram, then call them up at 803-948-8322 and get
Now subs text line 803-404-6100.
your home.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Tuesday here on The Game. Reminder, this Friday, we're going to be out at Pro Swing on Forest Drive, new location, 4708 Forest Drive, hanging out all day long, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can come by and see all of us as we break in new location of Pro Swing out on Forest Drive this upcoming Friday. We obviously talk a lot about transfer portal, and Carolina has strategically been adding pieces here and there across its entire team and filling areas of need over these past couple weeks as the season has come to a close, and even before that. And one of the latest ones, or the latest one, excuse me, that came in yesterday, Brandon Cisse, defensive back from NC State, adding to the 2025 portal class. This is a name that they'd been tracking for a while, or y'all had been tracking for a while over at Gamecock Central, and finally decided to commit from South Carolina, kid from Sumter, adding to what is a very full cornerback room now. And it's going to be interesting to see as we go through spring and summer, who exactly shakes out as your two main corners on the outside.
Yeah, look, this is a big deal to get a guy like this from NC State, and you beat Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss for it. So I know there's a lot of joy about that. I remember Lane trolling the other day with that Sumter post on his Twitter, but that's who he is. It's what he does. So it's good to see South Carolina get a big time pickup here, and number 9 cornerback in the portal. With this guy, and I think it'll be interesting, like you said, to see who comes out of that cornerback room being the top guys. I have to imagine this dude's going to be right in the mix. Obviously, you'll have a guy like Jalen Kilgore returning for his 3rd year as a starter. But I think the rest is kind of up for open competition. Like, we'll see if Vakari Swain or Judge Carr, those returning guys, can be the other, on the other side, being that DB that starts right out of the gate. Maybe Peyton Williams competes for a spot. We'll see. But I have to imagine the transfers coming in, like your Norwoods and your Cisse's, like guys like that, can definitely come in and make an impact.
Yeah, definitely so. And South Carolina had so many areas of need. I don't know, with O'Donnell Fortune obviously being out of eligibility and heading off to try his hand at the NFL. I know everybody kind of looked at that, seeing as one spot that you may need to bring in one guy. So you got Cisse. You also had Miles Norwood the other day from Ball State. And again, when you have more guys in the room, especially with guys with the experience level that these guys have, it's going to create more competition. Maybe it is Judge Collar, maybe it is a Jalewis Solomon, a Vakari Swain, but obviously the more guys you have in the room, the better the competition, that hopefully gives you your best options on the outside. Well, I'm assuming Kilgore would probably still play that like nickel spot, kind of on the inside there, as that's what he's kind of been doing for the past 2 years.
Yeah, and you also have to fill the safety spot with Nicky Minwari off to the NFL. So we'll see what happens. And you have DQ Smith returning as well, that other safety spot. So I think you got a lot of options. The good thing is with this team, as we saw in the bowl game, depth is important. And when you lose a guy like at safety, like you did with Nick, you got to have another guy step up. And Peyton Williams was able to do that. So, and he did that in the Vanderbilt game as well. So it is good to see that South Carolina has replenished. They've got a lot of guys. You can never have too much talent on the field, and it'll work itself out one way or another, or multiple guys are going to be able to play.
And it does kind of seem like now, because again, Cisse is somebody that had been tracked for a little while. As of right now, it doesn't look like anybody else is planning on visiting, at least for this winter cycle of the transfer portal. Carolina might be done. Now, again, you still have another cycle coming up in the spring where you can add guys, and we saw them do that. Adding a couple guys last year, I believe Campbell and Dre Jacobs were both added in that spring cycle. So you still have chances to add this offseason. But for now, this may be kind of buttoning up at least this portion of the transfer cycle.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this were about it. I mean, I think South Carolina has done a great job in this portal cycle. Maybe they see another guy come in, within like the next week or whatever here. But honestly, it feels like they've rounded out just about everything. Classes are starting up now. And I'm sure the last day to enroll is coming up here very soon, if not already. And we'll see what happens. But then you have the spring cycle, like I said, or like you said, Tyler, and you're right. Dre Jacobs, Dale Von Campbell, both guys that were very impactful for South Carolina in different ways this season. Wouldn't surprise me if South Carolina feels they have another need to go fill. If something doesn't work out in spring ball or whatever, they'll have some time to figure things out on that end. But I definitely feel very much better about where this team's at now versus, okay, going into the offseason, you know what they're going to lose. How are they going to replace so much talent on this team? I feel like, at least on paper, they've done that.
Yeah, and look, for most of these guys, it's very much going to be well, let's wait and see. Obviously, when you look at a guy like Rocket Sanders that came in last year, even a Kyle Kennard who had a decent level of production at Georgia Tech, you kind of knew a baseline of what you were getting. Here, you have a few more question marks because you do have guys that come in from reputable SEC schools like Brownlow Denley coming from A&M, Jaylen Brown coming from Missouri, but those are guys that just hadn't played a whole lot. So you don't know exactly how that's going to translate, especially in year number one. But you also have guys that have played quite a bit at some of these other schools, like a Faison at Utah State, who obviously put up good numbers there. A Miles Norwood at Ball State. You have Devonta Miles coming in from Bowling Green on defensive line the other day. But the question becomes of, okay, how can that translate over to playing in an SEC school? Which doesn't, just because you come from a smaller school doesn't mean you can't play at this level. But you don't have that proven level of production just yet. You do have to kind of wait and see how these guys translate to coming in here and wait till the fall rolls around to see what happens with those kind of guys.
The difference between this year's team probably and last year's was that you had guys like, even though you brought in so many new pieces from the portal going into the 2024 season, you had that what's the analogy? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but you had that backbone of older guys who had been at South Carolina for years, playing in the SEC and doing well, that you could fall back on worst case. And, you were able to have that good mix of new and old talent, and it worked out really well. This year, I don't know exactly if you have as much returning old talent. Like, obviously you have some guys, but it's not the same amount. Like, the defensive line is the main area where you brought up some of those names. I wonder how it all shakes out there. You have Monkel Goodwine and Nick Barrett returning, but, and Dylan Stewart and guys like that. But, you probably, you don't have the same like Boogies, TJs, Tonkas, guys like that. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, look, last year, one of the best transfer portal ads, somebody that we didn't talk about a whole lot because he didn't need to be talked about, was Torricelli Simpkins. He ended up being your best offensive lineman, and he came from North Carolina Central. So the school that they come from, the level that they come from, is not always indicative of how they're going to play. And it's just, again, kind of one of those things you got to wait and see how these guys all shake out.
Yeah, for sure. Look, like you said, doesn't matter where you came from. Look, South Carolina is known for finding diamonds in the rough at this point. So wouldn't surprise me if a few under the radar guys end up being really good pieces for them.
So we'll see what happens. Again, seems like at least for the winter cycle, Carolina's for the most part added what it's going to add, and we'll see how all these guys end up when the season rolls around coming up this fall. All right, coming up next, we will get to what happened last night out in Arizona to wrap up Wild Card Week in the NFL. Surprising to some, maybe not surprising to others, and big conversation about how exactly this collapse happened. That's coming up next. It is The Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Tuesday here in the game. Tyler Head here once again telling you about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. Of course, we had a lot of winter weather coming in this past weekend that included snow and rain. And if you have an open crawl space under your home after a storm like that, you might be having some standing water. And standing water can cause all sorts of complications with your home, with the high humidity and condensation that can grow things like mold and mildew and invite plenty of pests like termites into that crawl space. That can lead to things like wood rot and floor joist problems as well. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com, where they can come out, assess your crawl space, and make sure they get you fixed right so you and your family can live comfortably going forward. Because here's the thing, about half of the air that you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space. And if you got mold and mildew and things like that in there, you're going to be breathing in all that dirty air, and nobody wants that. So again, go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com for our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist.
79 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
Mosley's Diamond Showcase on Broad River Road is having its final days sale. That's right. This specific location is clearing out everything. We're not talking small discounts. We're talking savings as low as 50, 60, 70% off. Even items below cost. Diamond earrings regularly priced at $598, only $59. Remember, all sales are final. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grab incredible jewelry for prices you'll never see again. Don't wait. See you at Mosley's Diamond Showcase on Broad River Road.
I'm with Jason Reynolds of the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm. Jason, why should someone injured on the job or in a vehicle accident consider your firm?
Well, we're not a huge firm with just a phone number and a website. When you bring your case to us, you actually meet with your lawyer. And when you call, you can actually speak to your lawyer. We also have a diverse team that understands you and where you're coming from.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Great! Maxed out cards, rent's due, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
We should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right on his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. BillsHappen.com's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Great news! I went to BillsHappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to BillsHappen.com. That's BillsHappen.com. BillsHappen.com.
They say perfection is a journey, and at Carolina Stone Craftsman, that journey leads us to just outside Columbia in Chapin. Our marble, our granite, our quartz, they're sculpted with the highest craftsmanship, honed with family values, and delivered with professional results. Explore the craftsmanship of each slab, see all our new showroom has to offer, and experience our custom hardscapes. Crafted to perfection, experience Carolina Stone Craftsman's workmanship. Take us for granted. Your journey to perfection starts with us. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Carolina Stone Craftsman.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings on the entire lineup of award-winning Chevy vehicles. I-26 and Harvest and LoveChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Who did the heavy lifting? Sponsored by TEC Equipment Rental. 2025 Old Dunbar Road in Casey.
Darnold, ball's out. Picked up by Verse. Off to the races. And gone for the touchdown. Witherspoon knocked it out. And Verse took care of the rest.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Tuesday. Here on the game is time for our TEC Equipment Riddles. Who did the heavy lifting segment? That was the call last night on Monday Night Football Wildcard Edition. Jared Verse doing some heavy lifting for the Rams defense as they absolutely wreaked havoc on the Minnesota Vikings en route to a 27-9 victory. They sacked Sam Darnold 9 times last night. My God, he has got to be very sore this morning.
Yeah, he's going to be waking up a little as if a loss isn't painful enough. The hits he was taking last night was just, it was one after the other, man. 9 sacks in an NFL game is crazy. Like we talk about that at the college level sometimes, but man, that is that's rough, man. And Sam Darnold has been having a great year. That's a real rough end of the season for him and the Vikings.
So 9 sacks last night. In the last 4 games of the regular season, Sam Darnold had only been sacked 8 times. So that is essentially a month's worth of sacks in one game. And this, uh, you obviously give credit to the Rams for what they did, but I don't think we can look at this game as anything else than an utter collapse by the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, go back 9 days, right, to the end of the regular season, Sunday Night Football. They're going into Detroit, 14-2, taking on the Lions, also at 14-2, for the right to be the number 1 seed. They lose that game 31-9, drop to the 5 seed, have to go on the road, take on the Rams, a team that I think most people said, okay, going on the road's tough, but they shouldn't have a problem at least being competitive. They didn't look like they belonged in the same league as them last night, like a complete and utter collapse from a team that a couple weeks ago many people thought might be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, and I think the discussion comes up of, okay, should the NFL do like reseeding for, take divisions out of it and just make it the records be how the seeding's determined? Because a 14-3 team should be hosting a playoff game. But at the same time, I understand it that they didn't win the division. They lost pretty badly to the Lions. And yeah, it kind of just seemed like it carried over. Like, again, besides the blocking being really poor yesterday, I mean, the Rams were just lighting it up early on in this game. I mean, they're up 10-0 right out of the gate, up 24-3 at halftime. I mean, that alone's tough to come back from. And obviously, as we saw, the Vikings were just no match the rest of the way when that was the case. But, I mean, look, the Rams are getting hot at the right time. Matthew Stafford's playing some good ball. The rushing attack's been good. The receiving's been pretty solid, too. The defense obviously came through big time last night. I mean, that's a performance. You had the Eagles up next. That's something you can really build off of and hang your hat on.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't even know how much of a home field advantage the Rams had. Obviously, they weren't even playing in SoFi because of the LA Wildfires. They had to relocate this game to State Farm Stadium in Glendale, where the Cardinals play. That, and it seemed like it was about a 50-50 crowd split, because I heard just as many, if not more, Vikings fans in the crowd than Rams fans. So, yes, you're still traveling technically farther than the Rams have, but I wouldn't really consider this a true road game that the Vikings were playing.
No, it definitely wasn't. Like, again, the situation out in California is awful, and I really do hope, the wildfires starting to calm down and everyone, is able to get everything figured out there. It's so unfortunate what's happened there, but I agree. Like, this is it's close to a home game for the Rams because it's not that far from LA probably, but also, Minnesota fans showed up. And so it kind of worked out for the Vikings in that they didn't have to go on the road to SoFi. Not that the Rams have some huge fan base or anything. I mean, I don't know, but I think with this game, it just came down to that loss against the Lions. I think was detrimental to them. Having to go on the road and stuff, travel cross country, and things just never clicked yesterday. And so I think the discussion starts to come up. It's not like Sam Darnold was terrible by any means. Yes, the sacks are bad, and that's awful to look at. But he still had a great year. I wonder what happens next for the Vikings at quarterback. Me personally, I think they move on to J.J. McCarthy and see what they got with that.
And here's the thing, because we've kind of tracked this entire season, because we know what Sam Darnold's been in Carolina with the Jets. He can have a good game here or there, but he ends up becoming Sam Darnold at some point. And we've kind of almost been waiting for that this year. Like, all right, Vikings got off to a good start, but at some point the collapse of Sam Darnold is going to come. And I don't put everything on him last night, because again, that offensive line couldn't protect him to save their lives. There were some times when he did hold on the ball a little bit too long. I imagine guys were just covered up downfield, but you still got to be able to get the ball away. But given the fact that he already has a negative perception around him from the other prior teams that he was with, I don't think he gets the benefit of the doubt, right? After seeing these last two games, not being able to really, pick this team up and put them in a position to be competitive. Again, you scored 9 points in each of the last two games against two teams whose defenses really haven't been all that dominant this year, in the Lions and the Rams, where you think theoretically, especially with the weapons you have on offense in Minnesota, you should be able to score more points than that. So while I know for a while people thought, hey, Sam Darnold's been revitalized and he's going to go make all this money as somebody else's quarterback, I don't necessarily know if that's the case. Is somebody going to take a chance on him? Probably. But again, that negative perception around him and the way you ended this year, I think probably cost him tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, hearing the Monday Night Football guys bring up the point you exactly made last night. This is going to be like the game last night. This is even before the game, before it happened. I think it was like Troy Aikman or someone who said this game could be the lasting memory of how you remember how the season went for not just the Vikings, but Sam Darnold in general. Like, if you win a playoff game, that's big. That's going to help you for sure. But if you lose and don't play great, that's how people are going to remember you, unfortunately, right or wrong. Like, the regular season doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Look, Sam is going to get picked up by someone. There is a team out there. I'm sure the Jets, Giants, teams like that have been awful this season. Maybe the Raiders. If I'm sure they'll get a quarterback in the draft. But Sam's a guy you can bring in as your bridge guy to the next guy, kind of like what we're seeing here with him and JJ McCarthy, most likely being the Vikings guy going into next year. Would shock me if he's not. But you're right. I think Sam, he's going to make some money, obviously. He'll probably be the highest paid free agent quarterback in this next class here coming up. But he probably did lose some money based on the way last night went, because it's like you have that hesitancy like you have all season, Tyler, with Sam returning to his old former glory of being what many thought would be a bust. And we'll see if that happens. I think he's a very good quarterback still. One game should not define you, but in the day and age of where we're at in the NFL, I mean, the playoffs are what matter most, and you didn't perform super well. So it's going to be hard to be like, yeah, I'm going to give you a 5-year deal. Maybe I'll cut that down to a 3-year and a little bit less money.
As we kind of look at the Vikings as a whole here, I'm thinking back. The closest comparison I can make is like the 2010 season, so 2011 playoffs, when the Falcons, I want to say, were the 1 or 2 seed. I don't remember exactly. And they got completely waxed by the Packers en route to the Packers, obviously winning the Super Bowl in the, in that year's divisional round. Like, that's the closest I can see of a team that we thought so highly of going into the postseason, just looking like they didn't belong at all once they got there. And again, the Vikings showed a little bit of that last week against the Lions, and we thought, okay, maybe it's just a 1-week anomaly, but no, that carried over into this past week, and now they're sitting at home as a 14-3 team, really, that never even got a chance, it seems like.
Yeah, it's it's just, I don't know. It's a tough situation for them to be in because they had such a good year. But I think in a lot of people's minds, they kind of felt like the Vikings were a little bit fraudulent. And me too. But I think over the course of the season, I kind of got on the train of, okay, this team's actually legit. They're very good. Once they got blown out by the Lions in that game for the 1 seed, I mean, that felt like a nail in the coffin, to be honest. I just didn't realize it was going to be this bad. I think I had the Vikings winning this game, honestly. But the Rams, look, they surprised me. They seem to defy father time with Matthew Stafford being 36 and still playing very good. And they gave up so much draft capital to get guys like Von Miller and other players like that for their Super Bowl run they went on. And I felt like that was going to be it for them. But heck, here they are going to the divisional round, playing a very good Eagles team that I don't think they're going to win that game, but it is very much possible that they are the team to pull off an upset next weekend.
Well, I think it's also important to remember this is a Rams team that started the year 1-4, and obviously they dealt with a ton of injuries, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, all those guys out. When they finally got their crew back, they played a whole lot better. I know they lost the last game to the Seahawks. A lot of those starters sat that game, but they effectively ended the season on a 5-game winning streak, and now have won a playoff game. And yes, I think they're going to have an opportunity. I think Philadelphia's the better team at the end of the day, but even getting to this point and winning a playoff game is a huge accomplishment for a team that started off so poorly.
No, yeah, and I remember we had a conversation maybe mid-season about, okay, are the Rams, are they going to be selling potentially? Are they going to be trading Cooper Kupp, guys like that? What do you do with Matt Stafford? But I think it was that Vikings game mid-season, actually week 8, where they actually got it going. They got a big win, and they kind of turned it around from there. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And again, divisional round coming up this weekend. We'll dive into that as the week goes along. Who's going to be the next Cowboys head coach? There's one name that I think a lot of people want to see take that job. We'll hit that coming up next. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Tuesday on the Game.
Game TV. This Homer Science with Sportsman Ed, sponsored by Wrangler. At Wrangler sees it out there, open roads, endless horizons. Shop Wrangler.com for new denim styles. We'll soon hear the narrative that a 23-day layoff will adversely affect the Chiefs. No way they'll be rusty. This is a veteran team, as we all know. New dad Patrick Mahomes' high ankle sprain has healed. And of course, Andy Reid will have Casey ready. I'm Boomer Esiason.
When I wake up, the best mornings in the morning, I start with Wrangler. I put on my jeans and I feel alright. Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
When you're in the thick of a project, Harbor Freight is the place that always comes in handy. Whether you're picking up something for your pickup truck or a power tool for your project, at Harbor Freight, your dollar always goes further. And these days, when everything seems to cost more, you can take pride in knowing that you get hard-working tools at hard-working prices. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
It's football season, and now you can get anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. Well, almost anything. You can't get a running back, but baby back ribs? Yes. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it. Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
Oh, it's awful, huh?
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come. Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com. Saddle Rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
For new carpet, the Home Depot is your destination. With a large assortment of affordable carpeting and the brands, styles, and colors you need. And for new carpet savings, the Home Depot also has you covered. With 10% off all special order carpeting right now. Enjoy long-lasting comfort at a great price and free installation. Offer valid January 9th through January 26th, 2025. Receive 10% off special order carpet and installation. Installation included in select market from qualifying purchase. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
The Extra Point with your hosts Tyler Head and Jack Logan from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Triple.
Welcome back in. Is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Tuesday. We'll dive into this a little bit more tomorrow, but Gamecock men's basketball taking on Vanderbilt tomorrow evening / late afternoon, 6 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage starting at 5:30 here on the game. 107.5 the game in Columbia, as well as 100.3 the game out in Myrtle Beach, as Coach Paris' crew looking for their first SEC win of the year. And again, we'll dive into more tomorrow, but a desperately needed win at that, to say the least, Jack.
Yeah, they definitely do need it. And look, the schedule has been really tough so far. You've played now the #1, #4, and I believe Mississippi State is like the #14 team in the country. So you've played 3 top 15 teams right out of the gate, and that's really tough. But Vanderbilt, look, the nice thing is Vanderbilt doesn't have a true home court advantage, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But I think South Carolina definitely benefits from going on the road this week.
So the big news in the sports world yesterday was, of course, the fact that Mike McCarthy will not be returning as the Cowboys head coach. The whole way this situation went down was very bizarre. They had the option to retain him. They blocked him from talking to the Bears the other day, and then decided to let him walk. Now, I imagine Mike McCarthy probably maybe didn't want to return to the Cowboys either. We don't know exactly the whole story on this just yet, but regardless, there's going to be a new head coach for the Cowboys coming up in the fall of 2025. And oh boy, the names are aplenty for guys that could possibly take this job. But the one that everyone seems to want to talk about, like we're about to talk about right now, Deion Sanders, who, at least from what, according to Adam Schefter, Jerry Jones has talked to about this job. Now, was he going to take it or not? I know he said the thing yesterday of, I love Colorado, I love Boulder, and all that kind of stuff. I don't take coaches' words on anything anymore until we have something signed and agreed upon. I'm not going to count him out as the Cowboys head coach.
I think the opportunity to still coach his sons at the next level is so much. It's too much for him to pass up, right? Because look, the Cowboys, you might be thinking, oh, the Cowboys, I mean, they have their quarterback of the future. What are we talking about here? They just signed Dak Prescott to a long-term deal, I believe, last year. True, but at the same time, the Cowboys could easily just trade him and try to get maybe the number one pick from the Tennessee Titans and get the number one pick, draft maybe Travis Hunter. Maybe, I don't know how you would get Shador then, but I think the opportunity to still coach his boys with Shador and Shiloh and maybe even Travis, that's too much for Coach Prime to pass up. So, look, I know Deion loves Colorado. He's changed the entire culture of that program there. But, hey, look, he moved on from Jackson State after, 3 years? So,
sure.
It's very much possible we see him do the same thing here and take that next step forward in his coaching career.
So bookies.com has Deion Sanders listed as the second best odds to become the Cowboys head coach. Funny enough, Joe Brady, the OC with the Bills, is listed as number one. But when I look at the rest of this list, Kellen Moore, obviously a former OC there with the Cowboys, Bobby Slowick with the Texans, Ben Johnson with the Lions. None of these guys, to me, fit the mold of what you need in a Cowboys head coach. Because here's the thing. You obviously have to deal with Jerry Jones, who's a very meddling owner. You have to deal with the media that is Dallas-Fort Worth. You got to have a big ego and a big personality. And there's really none bigger in the sports world than Deion Sanders. Like, I don't know how well it would go, but in terms of the personality you need as a Cowboys head coach, seems like a perfect fit.
He's got the right mold to be the Cowboys coach. Will it be successful or not? I have no idea. Here's the thing about Coach Prime, though, being a guy that played for the Cowboys and stuff back in his heyday. He's the only guy on this list that you just mentioned, and I really hope Joe Brady's not the next coach because he's doing so good with the Bills right now. He's the only guy that's bigger than Jerry Jones. He's the only guy because Jerry might want a yes man, right? I think that's what we saw.
Which is what McCarthy and Jason Garrett were.
Yeah, exactly. If you get Prime, he's not going to be – I mean, he'll obviously have to listen to – that's what you would think, listen to Jerry Jones. But listening to Jerry Jones hasn't worked for the last 30 years necessarily. And having a new voice in there, someone that is bigger than Jerry Jones himself, the Cowboys owner, Deion Sanders is that guy. So I think having that might end up being something that works out. Prime really seems to, love him or hate him, he seems to have a good grasp on making Colorado as professional of an environment as possible with, getting rid of the slides and no tank tops yesterday out of Colorado. So he's got the right thing going on there. It wouldn't surprise me if he left just because his sons aren't there anymore. Travis Hunter's not there. But we'll see. I think the opportunity to go to Big D, turn that franchise around because they haven't been to a Super Bowl in God knows how long, it's an opportunity I think that would be too hard for him to pass up.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate because, look, going to Colorado, taking over a program that was, 1-11 before he went there, getting into a bowl game was a pretty low bar to clear. That wasn't easy, obviously, but he got them there. When you go and become the Dallas Cowboys head coach, again, people start talking Super Bowl right from the jump. And McCarthy was able to win 12 games on the regular, but obviously couldn't win games in the playoffs outside of the one against Tom Brady. So I don't know how this is going to shake out, but knowing the Cowboys, this is going to turn into its own reality show over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think they're in such a better position if you have Prime, and then we'll see what happens from there. Got to bring in talent, but I think a lot of shakeup would happen out in Dallas if this were to be the way they go.
Plenty more to get into tomorrow. We'll dive back into men's basketball, so talk more transfer portal, maybe dive into some quarterbacks around the SEC too. Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling Heating coming up next on your Tuesday here on The Game.